I've made this segment up. It's called Trent's 10 Toughies, and they're not going to be tough at all.
Whoa. We've got a luxury car heading to a premium location.
We're going to hit the road. That's what it's all about. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another episode of Drive TV. For this drive, we're heading out to a beautiful region west of Melbourne. I'm sure you want to know what I'm driving. Well, currently I am in something that used to be the city car. I'll give you a hint. It's German, rear-engined, has paddle shifters, and it's a two-seater. But no, it's not a 911. I am driving a Smart. Do you all remember those really compact, very tiny city cars that looked pretty quirky? Well, I am in the Fortwo. Now, you really won't see these out on the road at all anymore, but you will see the brand again. That's right, Smart has returned to Australia, just with a bit of a different look. So on this drive, I'll be taking quite a journey, and I don't just mean to different destinations, I mean from the old to the new. So I'm currently making my way out of Melbourne, but I won't be in this car for too long because I think it's important to show you just how much this brand has shifted gears. Fun fact, the original Smart was actually a collaboration between Mercedes-Benz and Swatch. Yes, the watch company. They aimed to make unique transportation stylish and customizable, and they quickly gained a very unique personality. And the brand name is actually an acronym: S for Swatch, M for Mercedes-Benz, and then ART equals Smart. Well, that was quite an experience. Different, but fun nonetheless. You got your paddle shifters here, old school way of shifting through gears on the gear shifter as well. And it really is just a throwback. I can get why these were so cool and convenient back in the day. In Europe, these cars were actually designed to be reverse parked perpendicular to the curb. It's about as long as most cars are wide. I'll show you just exactly how long. One arm on the front, one arm on the rear. I'm really not used to being able to touch the rear windscreen, but I will say that it does feel a lot more spacious in here than what it looks like from the outside. In terms of the cabin, whoever's car this is, they've kept it in great nick. They talk about minimalism now inside cabins. Well, this is just simple. I mean, remember good old buttons and dials, all analog here, nothing digital, no big screens, nothing fancy, but it is still rather charming. Speaking of which, we're in our very first location, so welcome to Williamstown. We've just arrived in Williamstown, a picturesque seaside suburb, a quick drive from Melbourne's CBD. Originally Melbourne's first seaport, Williamstown is located at the mouth of the Yarra River, where it enters Hobson's Bay and Port Phillip. This is a perfect pit stop. Visit the Botanic Gardens, wine and dine at one of the countless cafes and restaurants, or simply relax and soak up the scenic views of Melbourne's city skyline. Well, a pit stop is just that. Time to leave this destination and the past behind and embrace the future. As they say, out with the old and in with the new. This here is the Smart #1, a boxy, funky looking crossover SUV, still with plenty of personality. This is all electric and it comes in 3 different variants. This one here is the mid-spec premium. So I am behind the wheel of the #1, and straight away I'm sure you'll notice that it looks a little bit different. Smart has really evolved over the past decade. So as you would have known them before, those micro two-seater city cars, well, this is a far cry from that. They've come back into Australia 10 years later, and they are launching with the #1 and the #3. They are fully electric SUV crossovers.
There's a lot that makes this car unique, from its powertrain to its tech and styling, and as I mentioned, there's a long list of features. Standard equipment includes 19-inch alloy wheels, a panoramic glass roof, adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a power-operated tailgate. This premium spec adds a Beats sound system, fast AC home charging, matrix LED headlights, duo leather seat upholstery, and a head-up display.
Now, Mercedes-Benz is still involved, but they are now part-owned by Geely. And if you haven't heard them before, they are a Chinese automotive giant. And they also own brands like Volvo, Polestar, Lotus. This car actually goes head-to-head with the Volvo EX30, and it has the same underpinnings as its electric cousin. You would have seen that car out on the road by now. If you're wanting to check one out, go for a test drive. Smart cars in Australia are actually being imported and sold by LSH Auto and through the Mercedes-Benz dealerships that they own in Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne. So built in China, but designed by Mercedes-Benz. A lot of people have already done a double take. These are very new to Australian roads. So they certainly are head turners, but we're pretty lucky to be testing these while we're going out on a beautiful drive to a stunning region west of Victoria. And it's probably going to only take us around 2 hours, give or take.
Let's talk about a very important topic when purchasing an EV, driving range. So this mid-spec has a claimed 440 kilometres, which if you're using this car as an urban runabout, you're covered.
So I'm going to give you a bit of an example. I live around 20 kilometres away from work, and I could easily get to and from home throughout the week and then just top it up once I get home on Friday night. But it's not something I think I would be worried about with 450 kilometres up my sleeve. If you are doing longer journeys, I'm sure you either have a setup or you know where your charging stations are. Like a trip like this one, obviously we're going a little bit further, around 120, 130 kilometres. So we had to pre-plan and know where the closest charging stations are. Thankfully, there's quite a bit out in this region. And we'll be doing a top up before we head back to Melbourne. And charging wise, if you are out and about, Smart claims that you can get from 10 to 80% in around half an hour, which is pretty good. Also, I just want to make mention that as a standard feature, this premium model actually gets a heat pump, which can efficiently heat the cabin on a colder day. And you actually get a little bit of a range boost as well. In the way of drivability, this car, well, the SEA Geely platform is a great base. It is sharp, it's responsive. This car is actually really comfortable. We have tackled some back roads already and it has handled those rougher surfaces really well. This car is capable of 200 kilowatts, 343 newton meters of torque. It has that 66 kilowatt hour battery, and this variant is rear wheel drive. There are some things I am still getting used to, so no, it's not perfect. That includes something like its adaptive cruise control. I'm sure that if you are a buyer of this car, you'll have a lot more time to become familiar with its system and the way that it works. But it does get some pretty good standard safety from the base model. That includes your adaptive cruise control, get a really nice 360-degree camera, blind spot monitoring, long list of safety features. It is coming into a really competitive market, but it's always nice to have new cars, new brands coming into Australia or returning to Australia, if you will. From base, you're looking at $54,900. That's excluding on roads, excluding options. It's an extra $4,000 for the premium model. And I think for a really long time, we were begging for more affordable EVs. Now, anything over $50,000, that is still a lot of money, but they are getting more affordable and there is a lot more to choose from. So they have come in with some competitive pricing. This has a lot of standard kit, a lot of usable space. Styling, I think you'll either love it or hate it, but I think a really great and strong proposition.
Geelong is the second largest city in the state of Victoria, and it's just a cool place to visit. It boasts a large commercial centre which extends down the foreshore and has a mix of vibrant city life coastal views and nearby nature escapes. The food scene is impressive too, from waterfront dining to cosy hidden cafes in the laneways. What else is Geelong known for? An AFL team, of course. Geelong is also home to the Geelong Revival, the Australian International Air Show, and Festival of Sails, just to name a few.
Okay, so now you know all about the #1, but perhaps this is more your vibe. This here is the Smart #3. It's still a crossover SUV, looks a bit sportier, sleeker, and sits on a larger wheelbase. And this one is extra special because it's the range-topping Brabus. Now, if you don't know what that means, I'll tell you all about it shortly, but just know it'll add a bit of extra oomph to your driving experience.
The flagship Brabus version packs dual electric motors with all-wheel drive, as well as a claimed 415 kilometres of WLTP driving range. The #3 was developed to feature world-class aerodynamics and is a more powerful, sportier interpretation of the design philosophy behind the Smart #1. This car is also equipped with micro-suede upholstery with red stitching, red seatbelts, red interior accents, metal look pedal covers, and lots of Brabus badging.
I am now behind the wheel of the Smart #3. So as I've already mentioned, very similar to the #1. It has the same battery on the same platform. This car stylistically looks a little bit different, and it also has a little bit of a longer wheelbase. So yes, this is the range-topping Brabus. Now, Smart has had a long history with Brabus, which I'll talk a little bit more about shortly. But this will get us to our final destination. And I tell you what, 315 kilowatts, 543 newton meters, a 0 to 100 kilometre sprint time of 3.7 seconds. I'm pretty happy to be driving this on a longer stint. So back in 2003, Smart collaborated with Brabus to make a more high-performance version of the iconic Fortwo. If you haven't heard of Brabus, they are a high-performance aftermarket tuning specialist. They're known to be, well, high performance, but also quite luxury as well. So if you have a Brabus badge on your car, it's pretty cool. It really is a standout. I'm sure you've seen a lot of G-Wagons with the big B on them, and there's lots of badging throughout this car. So this version actually gets some exterior and interior treatments, as you can see with my sporty red seat belt. There's some beautiful red stitching throughout. Nice Alcantara steering wheel. You also get a unique suspension and a launch control, which I'll no doubt be testing out a little bit later. You will get a firmer ride in here, but it is still really comfortable nonetheless. In the way of driving range, it is a little bit less than the #1 we were driving earlier. It's 415 kilometres, which we can expect those numbers to drop when you're in a performance variant. And just know that you won't always get that real world figure. It really depends on the driving conditions, driving style. So we haven't gotten exactly to 415 kilometres, but as I said, that is to be expected. I have been spending quite a lot of time in sport mode. So Smart's offering a 5-year, 150,000 kilometre warranty, and you get 8 years warranty on your battery. I think they've come in really smart with their pricing. This variant is obviously a little bit more expensive because you're getting that Brabus badge, high performance vehicle, some extra niceties. I think that they are joining a wave of Chinese EVs that are coming into the Australian market. We're having quite a boom. There's going to be quite a lot to choose from. So you have to be competitive with your pricing, which I do believe they have done.
You have two crossover SUVs with a starting price of sub $60,000. Of course, you can take the step up to the range-topping Brabus, which is $70,900 before on-road costs. As mentioned, you do get the Brabus element to it, as well as extra features.
But I think that they've done well, and they've come in quite strong going up against, your BYD, your Leap Motor, your Z-Car, X-Pen. The list is ever growing. In the way of standard safety, you get that 360-degree camera. I really like that when you're driving, it doesn't take up the whole screen. If you are slowing down, you're going into a park, it just pops into a small section on your screen. Screen is really large as well. And you get some nice augmented displays on your instrument cluster in front of you as well. So right now, it's got me driving along and it's telling me that there is indeed 2 cars right ahead of me, which they're picked, and it's picturing it changing lanes as well. So that's pretty bang on. So really cool tech as well. I think a lot of people are really interested in the technology in cars these days. Adaptive cruise control with stop and go, get your lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, and as I mentioned, that really nice 360-degree camera, just to name a few. I really have enjoyed being behind the wheel of this car in particular. It's a lot of fun, very engaging, and a pretty cool interior to boot. As I said, lots of standard kit in here. I'm really excited to see how smart fare in Australia. They do have a #5 coming soon, an adventure-centric medium SUV. But if you want to get a full review on either of these cars, we have, of course, tested them. Be sure to head on over to drive.com.au.
Our final stop is located in stunning Winchelsea. This is Barwon Park Mansion, an exquisite bluestone mansion set in a sweeping rural landscape. Before we take our tour, I sat down with tour manager Lauren to find out more about the significant history of this remarkable estate.
Lauren, thank you so much for having us. Pictures really don't do this place justice. It's stunning and over 150 years old, I believe, so rich in history. Can you give us a bit of a background on the original owners?
Yeah, so the house was originally built by Thomas and Elizabeth Austin between 1869 and 1871. Thomas and Elizabeth held a housewarming ball in June 1871, just to give you an idea of that building timeline. And unfortunately, Thomas passed away at the end of that year. Elizabeth then went on to live here for the next 40 years up until she passed away in 1910. So 40 years of Austin history, followed by close to 50 years of Batson history. The Batson family purchased the house not long after Elizabeth's passing, and they stayed here up until the early 1970s when the house was bequeathed to the National Trust.
Amazing. So as you said, 153 years old. This has 42 rooms. I'm sure there's a lot of maintenance and upkeep involved.
There is. Fortunately, we've got a fantastic team of volunteers who assist both with the cleaning, the maintenance and the gardens around here. But we always are looking for more volunteers as well to help with that workload.
I'm willing to pop up my sleeves and help for the afternoon. I'm not great at pruning roses though, because I believe that's one of their jobs.
It is, yes.
And very well preserved, because now people can actually come here. What would you expect to see on a visit here to the mansion?
Yeah, so if you came here on a Wednesday or a Sunday, we only offer guided tours, which means you'll have a dedicated volunteer guide who will take you through the majority of our 42 rooms, tell you a bit about the Austins, the Batsons, the architecture, and some stories that we've picked up along the way.
Now, I've had a bit of a sticky beak, especially in that front drawing room, which is stunning, and lots of beautiful items, which I'm sure would firstly cost a lot, but have a beautiful story to tell as well. Are there any standouts or favourites for you?
We've got a little table in the drawing room that I believe is made out of paper mache with the gold leaf and the mother of pearl on it. And we believe that was one of Mrs. Austin's pieces of furniture dating back to the 1870s.
Amazing. Everything is so intricate, including even the staircases that I saw, and the embossing down to the detail of when they were actually built as well.
I love details. And so it's actually got the date that the mould was registered, complete with the 2 architects who designed the house, Henderson and Davidson. So another of my favourite items is the silverware on the table that has been embossed with the Austin family crest.
So as I've mentioned, people can come visit. This is located in Winchelsea, which is right on the doorstep of the Great Ocean Road, and a beautiful region to come and visit. What is it about the area that you think makes people want to come back time and time again?
It's a beautiful area. It doesn't matter whether you're down at the coast on the Great Ocean Road or inland a little bit, or even just driving inland, say to Warrnambool or something. It's just a really picturesque part of the world, and I think we're quite fortunate. We get a lot of people who are caravanning around the Great Ocean Road who'll come up here for a day trip, and it's always lovely to hear those stories.
Thank you so much for the chat and for having us.
We've been delighted to have you, so I'd love to show you around.
Well, from the old to the new, that's what this journey has been all about, and it's been great to see how the brand has evolved over time. We hope that you enjoyed the drive as much as we did. For any more information on Smart, be sure to head on over to drive.com.au, and of course, if you've missed any episodes of Drive TV, be sure to catch up at 9 now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for another great drive.
Next week, join Jess, that's me, as I take the new, innovative and stylish Polestar 3 and 4 on trips not too far from Sydney. That's next week on Drive.
Are you ready to buy your next new vehicle? Well, the team at Drive can help you out. We have reviewed and driven all the new cars on sale in Australia at the moment to help you make a smart choice and buy the right new car for you. We've got cars for sale right now from reputable dealers over at drive.com.au. And of course, if you're ready to sell your car, we can help you with that too. Everything you need to know about buying or selling your car, it's over at drive.com.au.